The day the light fell silent. How yumenglong's death shook the world to tears. The world woke up to heartbreak the day yumenglong's light went out. It wasn't just the death of an actor, a singer, or a public figure. It was the silencing of a soul that spoke through art, music, and quiet grace. On that somber morning, as the news broke across the globe, millions of hearts felt the same chill, the same disbelief that something so gentle and bright could fade so suddenly. Yumenglong, known for his calm charm and deep emotional presence, both on and off screen, left a void so deep that even words struggled to fill it. The first wave of sorrow came like a storm, unannounced, uncontrollable, and devastating. Fans flooded social media with messages of disbelief, old clips, concert memories, and movie scenes that once made them smile but now made them cry. His image filled every corner of the internet, not as a celebrity, but as a memory, warm, fragile, and painfully beautiful. People wrote long letters addressed to him, sharing how his music got them through dark nights, how his smile lifted their spirits, and how his silence now echoed louder than any word could. No one could have predicted that his journey would end this way. Yumenglong had been a symbol of calm perseverance, a man who carried elegance like a soft flame, illuminating the hearts of millions. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he had a quiet power that drew people in. Whether he was performing on stage, acting in a romantic drama, or speaking humbly in interviews, he carried an aura that reminded everyone of peace, sincerity, and grace. And perhaps that's why his death hit so hard. Because when a soul like that departs, it doesn't just fade, it leaves a silence that feels eternal. The streets of Beijing, Shanghai, and Chengdu turned into memorials overnight. Candles lined the sidewalks, photos were framed in flowers, and fans stood hand in hand in the cold night air, singing his songs through their tears. Across Asia, from Seoul to Bangkok, the same thing happened. People gathered not because they knew him personally, but because they felt like they did. Yumenglong had that rare ability to make strangers feel like family. Through his eyes, people saw kindness. Through his art, they saw hope. In the hours following the announcement, the entertainment industry itself seemed to stand still. Co-stars and friends who once shared laughter with him could barely find words. Wang Yibo, who had appeared in several events with him, was seen in tears, his voice breaking as he whispered during a tribute. He was light itself. Xiao Zhan, his longtime friend, wrote a heartbreaking post saying, "Some stars don't fade, they just move to another sky." Those who had once been part of his creative journey couldn't contain their grief. Every message carried the same tone of disbelief, love, and unbearable loss. The funeral became a scene the world could not look away from, elegant yet devastating. Fans stood outside the hall, clutching white lilies and photos of Yumenglong smiling in his prime. His coffin, surrounded by candles and soft white roses, looked almost unreal, as if time had frozen around him. Some said it felt like a movie scene, but this wasn't fiction. This was heartbreak in real time. When his mother, pale and trembling, touched the coffin and whispered her goodbye, the air itself seemed to cry. Even the strongest hearts broke watching that moment unfold. Media outlets across the globe covered his death, not just as a headline, but as a phenomenon of grief. In Japan, fans released sky lanterns with messages written for him. In Thailand, murals of his face began appearing overnight. In China, digital billboards across major cities lit up with his portrait, captioned simply, "Thank you for the light." The sense of unity that spread among his fans was something the world hadn't seen in years. Proof of how one man's warmth could touch millions of lives across borders and languages. But beneath the mourning, there was also confusion. Questions arose about what truly happened. Some reports suggested exhaustion. Others hinted at health complications, while a few whispered about stress and hidden pain. Yet, out of respect, most fans chose not to chase rumors. They decided instead to focus on remembering his joy, his art, his legacy. Because, in the end, The cause mattered less than the impact he left behind. The truth, for most, was simple. Yumenglong was gone, and the world felt colder because of it. In the days that followed, his music shot back to the top of charts. His dramas broke streaming records. His social media pages became digital memorials where fans poured out their hearts. They wrote about the moments he made them laugh, the hope he gave them, the calm he brought when life felt heavy. Some shared how they had planned to meet him one day, to tell him how much he meant to them. Now they could only write those words to the sky. His songs played endlessly in cafes, on radio stations, and in the quiet rooms of people who missed him deeply. Even nature seemed to mourn. At his funeral, the skies were gray and heavy, rain falling like tears on the flowers and faces gathered there. But many believed that was his final message, that he would forever be part of the sky, part of the rain, part of every soft thing that touches the world quietly. Tributes poured in from global stars, directors, and fans who had admired his artistry. Yumenglong wasn't just an artist, one filmmaker said. He was poetry walking. His presence on screen had a gentleness that made audiences believe in love again. His voice carried emotion like a wave, soft but powerful enough to move hearts. Every performance he gave now feels like a final gift, a reminder of what beauty looks like when it comes from a soul so pure. For younger artists, Yumenglong's story became a lesson in humility and dedication. Many describe how he treated every person on set with kindness, no matter their role. Crew members recalled how he often stayed after filming just to help others or share snacks. He made everyone feel seen. One assistant director said tearfully, "He never acted like a star. He acted like a brother." Those small acts of love, now retold endlessly online, have turned into a blueprint for what true greatness looks like. Not fame, but compassion. His passing also reignited conversations about the hidden struggles of celebrities, the loneliness, the pressure, the constant scrutiny. Fans began campaigns promoting mental health awareness, using his name not to mourn endlessly, but to inspire healing and care. "Let his light teach us to take care of our hearts," one fan page wrote. Across online communities, the message spread, "Be kind. You never know what someone carries behind their smile." In this way, even in death, Yumenglong continued to touch lives, sparking empathy and reflection in a world often too busy to feel. Weeks later, as the mourning began to soften, something beautiful started happening. Artists began dedicating works to him. Songs, poems, short films, and paintings, all capturing his serenity, his smile, his timeless presence. A mural in Beijing depicted him surrounded by stars, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. Beneath it were the words, "The light may fall silent, but it never dies." That phrase became a symbol for his legacy, a reminder that even though Yumenglong was gone, the warmth he gave would continue to glow through the people he inspired. The world still hasn't recovered from the day Yumenglong's light went out. Days turned into weeks, yet the ache in people's hearts hasn't faded. It lingers like a soft echo in the corners of every song, every film, and every memory he left behind. The silence that followed his death wasn't ordinary. It was heavy, sacred, and unforgettable. His absence became a presence of its own, one that reminded everyone how fragile and beautiful life can be. Across China, his fans still gather at the places he once walked. Outside the studio where he filmed his last series, the ground is covered with white flowers and letters folded with trembling hands. At night, candles light up the pavement, forming the shape of a heart around his photograph. A soft wind often passes through, and people swear they can feel him there, watching, smiling, whispering gratitude from somewhere unseen. The quietness of these vigils speaks louder than words ever could. On social media, his final post has turned into a digital shrine. Thousands comment daily, some with tears, others with poems, and some with simple words. "We miss you." Fans replay his old live streams just to hear his laughter again. They freeze the videos when he smiles, taking screenshots as if holding on to that single moment could bring him back. Every corner of the internet that once celebrated his art has transformed into a space of remembrance, filled with warmth and sorrow intertwined. But it's the stories from those closest to him that pierce the heart most deeply. His longtime manager shared how, just days before his passing, Yumenglong had spoken about taking a short break, a rare decision for someone known for his work ethic. He said he wanted to spend more time with his parents, the manager recalled, voice trembling. He looked tired, but his eyes were still full of light. That statement became one of the most replayed interviews online, haunting and beautiful at once. Co-stars who once stood beside him on set have found it hard to continue working. One actress confessed during a talk show there were days he carried the whole energy of the crew. His calm kept everyone grounded. Without him, the silence feels different. It's too real. She wiped her tears as she said it, and the audience cried with her. Meanwhile, directors replayed scenes from his dramas, noticing details they had once overlooked. The subtle emotion in his eyes, the quiet pauses that made his characters human. He didn't just act, one director said. He lived every emotion. That's why people connected with him so deeply, because he was genuine through and through. The day of his burial was one the world will never forget. Fans lined the streets leading to the cemetery for miles, holding flowers and banners that read, "Forever our light." The sky, gray and gentle, seemed to weep with them. When his coffin was carried through the sea of people, a stillness fell over the crowd. No screams, no chaos, just quiet sobs and the whisper of his name carried by the wind. As the priest's words echoed through the air, a light drizzle began to fall, soft as if the heavens themselves were mourning him. Among the mourners was Wang Yibo, who couldn't hold back his tears. He stood motionless for several minutes before approaching the coffin, placing a single white rose and whispering something no one could hear. The cameras caught the moment, his trembling lips, his eyes swollen with grief, and the image went viral worldwide. Fans captioned it simply, "One brother saying goodbye to another." That single picture became a symbol of the pain shared by everyone who loved Yumenglong. It wasn't just the grief of a friend. It was the grief of a generation that grew up with his music, his dramas, his smile. Xiao Zhan, in another tribute, said, "When he walked into a room, the air changed. When he left, it never felt the same again." His words spread like wildfire, printed on posters, whispered at candlelight memorials, quoted endlessly online. Even international media couldn't ignore the emotional gravity of it all. Headlines described the tragedy as a global farewell and the star who taught the world to feel. Memorial concerts were organized in multiple countries, where fans came together not just to cry, but to celebrate his life through his music. On stage, large screens projected his face smiling as his songs played in the background, and the crowd sang along, their voices trembling through tears. In one particularly moving tribute in Shanghai, thousands of fans lifted their phones, their lights shimmering across the night sky like stars returning to their place. For a brief moment, it felt like the world was glowing again, like his light had never truly left, just scattered into the hearts of those who loved him. The days after his funeral became quieter, but the love didn't fade. Fan groups organized charity events in his honor, donating to hospitals, orphanages, and animal shelters, continuing the kind of compassion Yumenglong often practiced privately. Stories began to surface of his secret donations to struggling families and his kindness to people who worked behind the scenes. He never wanted credit, one staff member said softly. He just wanted to help. Those stories turned him into more than an idol. They made him a legend of kindness. The world realized that his greatest legacy wasn't fame. It was love. Love for people, for art, for life. That love now lives on in the people he touched, in every melody he left behind, and in every act of compassion his memory inspires. A month after his death, a massive mural was unveiled in his hometown. It showed Yumenglong standing under a glowing sky, his hand extended toward the horizon. Beneath the mural were written the words, "The light never dies." Every night, people gather before it with candles and flowers, whispering prayers and songs, creating a ritual of remembrance that feels both painful and peaceful. Though time continues to move forward, the world still pauses whenever his name is mentioned. His fans still refer to him as our eternal light. New fans, discovering his work for the first time, often find themselves in tears, saying they can't believe someone so gentle once walked the earth. In many ways, Yumenglong's death has transformed into a story of connection, proof that even in loss, love can grow stronger. His life has become a symbol of beauty, empathy, and hope. People now say his soul didn't vanish. It simply became the light guiding others through their darkest nights. And so the story continues. His music still plays in quiet rooms. His face still smiles from screens, and his spirit still whispers in the hearts of millions. The world may have lost him physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and artistically, Yumenglong remains everywhere. The night he died, the light may have fallen silent, but the dawn that followed carried his glow. And as long as there are those who remember, those who love, and those who continue to speak his name with reverence, the silence will never win. Because legends like Yumenglong don't end, they simply change form. He became the morning after the storm, the warmth after the tears, and the voice that continues to echo in the stillness of every heart he ever touched. His story isn't about tragedy, it's about love. Endless, radiant, unforgettable love. And that is how Yumenglong lives on, forever the light that refused to fade,